Hey everybody, this is the Drop the Beat podcast. My name is Charles Laurita.
My name is Will Sarver.
And we want to thank you guys for beating off with us this week, as you do every week. I'm sorry, I am absolutely hysterical right now.
I guess we're keeping
For those,
this.
no, we have to. It was too perfect. Will got so excited on his end and waved his arms like Kermit the Frog, and his tablet that we are communicating through with our social distance just fucking fell and made a bang, and I saw the ceiling, and that was just way too funny to me because my life is sad.
Wow.
That was great. Thank you, Will. That was beautiful.
I'm all about making quite the entrance.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for listening this week. We'll see you next time. That was... Yeah. We're not going to beat that. We're not going to top that.
No.
It's all going to suck.
Oh, man.
It's honestly, it's going to be, it's lucky show number 13. We've been doing this
Explains
for 13
it all.
weeks. I was going to say, 13 weeks we've been doing this. Good Lord, man.
I know, we sure retire.
I was going to say, I'm getting very tired from beating off as much as we have, because we've been... God, we'll come on this thing. We'll beat off for like anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour with each other.
Yeah.
Beating off together, which is nice. I like that.
Well, it's better to do it in the company of others. I think, but you
it's weird. You hold eye contact so much, which is kind of I'm not used to, but it's whatever.
Well, I just feel it's a deeper connection with eye contact.
It is. It really is. Well, anyway, I mean, if you guys are still listening and you haven't X'd out of this and just thrown your phone or computer in the garbage, we have a question this week, and it is going to be a sticky one, which was a horrible choice of words. But
it's perfect choice of words.
It was pretty perfect. But this is lucky show number 13, so we got to hit a deep, deep controversial cut right here. And we do have a question someone wrote in.
That amazes me that people actually can write in to the show.
It is, and if you at home listening, or whether you're not at home, you could be on the go, you could be on your car, you could be in a plane, you could be running from the law. I don't know where you are, but if you'd like to write in for a question, you can go to charleslaurita.com/contact and fill out the little form with your name, where the hell you're from, and your question that you want us to answer in a long format kind of thing, like we're going to do today. And if we pick your question, we will send you a free Mischief shirt. You can cover your naked body, or you can wear it and then make quite the entrance with a significant other by taking it off.
Ooh.
And just impressing the hell out of them. So we want you to get that free shirt, and we want it to end up on someone's floor, because we're just, that's how it is. That's what's up. That's what's up. I've been saying this the whole time. That's what's up. That's what's up.
That
William.
is what's up, as the kids say.
Oh boy. But anyway, I digress. We have a question written in from Armando from, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's either San Diego or San Diego. I'm not quite sure. But Armando writes in to us. He says, "Hey guys, loving the podcast. I'll have you know there's an exclamation point after loving the podcast." So he more so said it like, "Hey guys, loving the podcast," or however you'd want to phrase it.
Armando.
Nice, buddy. Nice. Thank you. Well, anyway, he goes on to say, "I went to music school for 2 years and left before I graduated. I've been getting so many opportunities in the music industry that it makes me think, is it absolutely necessary to go to school for a music degree? Thank you." Well, you're welcome, Armando, even though we didn't start yet, but I wanted to thank you and welcome you for sending in a question and also thanking us. This is a doozy. That's why I picked this one this week. This is a hell of a doozy, William.
Yeah, this one's heavy.
It is heavy. This is where a lot of people are very, very heavily divided and very heavily opinionated, and it can really make or break people with this kind of thing. And I feel like your tablet's going to smack the ground again, just out of the sheer ridiculousness of this topic, and I'm waiting for it.
Yes, you're going to see the ceiling soon again.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, man. I'm just like a little... upset that, I had my thing, I had the bell, and that was fun and like cute and spontaneous, and then you had to go with this like, I'm gonna throw my tablet across the room kind of thing. Like, you wanted to be fun and cool too. Like, you had to have a thing. Like, you couldn't just let it be. You had to have a thing.
Well,
I don't...
Yeah.
What? Why?
Well, I just had to top the bell. The bell was good. It was adorable. We all had a chuckle, but now this is the big leagues. You just take that $10,000 Apple iPad, whatever they cost these days, and you just throw that across the room, and
you just frisbee that shit.
that's right.
Oh boy. Well, when we're done breaking all of our things to one up each other for comedic value, on a completely just audio based medium, mind you, this is a crazy topic, and this affects both of us equally, I think, because we've both gone through something like this. And I was one way when I started with school for music, and I was completely changed when I was done. And not to be a negative person, because granted, my professors were very cool at music school. And just to clarify, I didn't go for straight music. I went for entertainment tech, which was supposed to be, your theory classes, and then had like music for film and radio and all sorts of live sound and lighting, because I thought it was something I could do more with than just a straight music degree. But what it turned out to be was just every semester they were adding more things and adding more things and adding more things, because they just had no idea what to do, because it was a new major and it was not fleshed out. Also, by the end of that, my advisor told me when I was finally had enough credits to graduate, he was like, "Oh, you should take trigonometry because it would really be great." And I told him to shove it up his ass as I left, because no, I'm not building sound systems on the space shuttle. I'm not.
You're not?
No, not that I'm aware of. But I don't know how you were in for school for stuff like this, but I was doing 16 credits a semester, and I was teaching 4 days a week, and I was gigging every Friday and Saturday. So I was like just balls to the wall with this kind of stuff, and it really just changed my whole aspect on the whole music school kind of thing. I mean, I should first off say, what was your experience going in to kind of school? And did you go for actual music in school?
I actually did. I went for music.
Wow, what a loser.
Yep. Just straight music.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's your answer. Yeah, I went for music because at the time I felt that I was kind of pushed to do it in a way. I felt like it was something that I had to do.
Well, especially if you're surrounded by a bunch of musicians, it's kind of like, well, what else do I do?
Right.
It's
yeah, and similar to your experience, I felt like I was doing a lot of other things besides music.
Yeah.
And like the trigonometry, all the math classes, and all the gen ed type of classes that you had to take, and it took a lot of my time, and it took time away from doing what I actually signed up to do. But on the other side, it's like I was super busy as well. Yeah, you have to be in like every ensemble, lessons, rehearsals, and then gigs or shows on the weekends. So it's definitely a full.
It's nonstop.
It's nonstop.
It's nonstop.
And I don't know. I mean, for you, a lot of the ensemble credits and things like that were like, it was like 1 credit. I didn't even get 3 credits out of it, and that took up most of my time.
Yep. Yeah, because that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's like they're not extracurricular things when you're actually going for music. My biggest problem was, like, I liked high school. I enjoyed it there. I liked all my teachers. Kids were fine. It was whatever. But I didn't mind the time. College, I was not hip to. It was just like, I wanted to get in and get out as quick as I could, because I slowly started to realize I'm kind of wasting my time here. And one of the big things, which you said about, credits, I had a lot of things where it was like intro to guitar, intro to piano, intro to theory, all of these like just incredibly simple kind of classes. And I wanted to just test out of them. And my advisor was like, my advisor was a super cool dude, and he was my professor in a lot of my classes. But he was just like, no, we don't want you to test out. We just want you to kind of stay and get the experience with everybody. And I'm like, look, I don't want to be here a long time, because the whole thing was, you can get the degree in 2 years, and you could not get the degree in 2 years.
Yeah.
It was garbage. And I was doing summer classes, I did winter classes, I just wanted to get out of there. And the fact that I could not test out of classes was just awful, because I'm like, dude, I'm wasting my time. And a lot of these were prerequisites, and they didn't, you didn't get any credits for them. It's like, I'm paying for this. Just let me pay you for my A so I can get done this thing. I don't want to be
pretty
doing
much,
this kind of thing. Oh my God, William was pulling my hair out. It was just ridiculous.
Well, your hair looks good now, so that's all that matters.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's great, man. I dig it now. It's good. But yeah, it was just kind of a mess with a lot of that stuff, and I also developed my my own kind of personal opinions and views about this music stuff and the whole thing with the arts and grading. Because the one thing I always kind of realized, I was like, well, if the arts are objective and subjective, like the whole thing where it's like, you don't have to like a movie that's good, or some people think a movie's great, or some people think the same film is bad, or whichever, or people judging art, then how can you grade something if it's so loosely based in subjectiveness,
Yeah.
Because people have such different personalities, different tastes. So how do you grade something like that? Like, I was actually taking quite a few art classes because I was so frustrated with the music stuff. And I was trying very hard and doing the best I could with everything and thinking, oh, this is some of my best work with whatever prompts I was given. And I was just getting straight C's. And it was because it wasn't exactly what the professor wanted. So at this point, there is no artistic kind of value in that or liberties. It's what I've realized was, you're going to school with whatever kind of art, whether it's fine art, whether it's performance, whether it's music, film. You're studying and doing projects in the style of your professor for a grade. You're not learning to grow your own style. You're essentially, you're not kind of blossoming as an artist yourself. You're learning in your professor style for a grade. That was like, I had a scoring for film kind of class. Very loosely based, because the teacher was just a young dude, and he just didn't give a shit, and he looked like Marty McFly. And I'm going to talk about that guy today, because he was just a butthole and a half,
McFly,
as they say in the proctology industry.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Proctology's asses, right? I can just never remember. I don't know.
I hope you're right.
Okay, good. I'm going to sound like quite the idiot. But we would be in this scoring for film class, and the film kids would send their projects over, and they all talked, big game and whatever, but it was just like, it wasn't great stuff, and it was just everyone was doing the same thing, and it's because of whatever the professor assigned. So it's like, oh, so no one's really doing anything with artistic liberty. It's you're doing this to get a grade, and that's not the point of art. That is not the purpose of it. I mean, did you, with any of your classes, whether it was any of your performance stuff or anything like that, did you have anything that, where you got to explore the kind of music field and not just do a cut and dry cookie cutter kind of thing?
I mean, I guess more in the realm of like ensemble kind of classes, like the jazz and stuff where like they just usually give A's to everybody. It's like, how are you really going to grade that besides attendance? But at least...
well, that's what I always say. How do you even grade anything like that?
I don't... I don't understand. I mean...
I understand proper technique and things like that, but if it's something where it's like you're creating something, how do you put a grade to that,
Yeah, so I would think, those type of classes, and at least for me, like the jazz stuff was where I could kind of let my hair down a little bit and, explore, my creativity and do some recordings on the sides. And, obviously you're given music, but, you do have...
See, that's so good you had that avenue to express yourself, though, because I think that's so important, where you're not just following goals and guidelines, where now it's like you can take what you've learned and just apply and do. And I think that's so important. And I would think, I mean, at least me as a teacher, I always think something like that, where it's like, wow, you're using what I gave you, you're applying what we learned. That's so important, Yeah,
that's everything. I mean, in the eyes of a teacher, I would think. I mean... but I can't say that that's the same across the board.
That was a big sigh. That was a big sigh I just heard.
Because there was a lot of other classes and group ensembles that I had to participate in, and there was zero room for freedom. It was
wiggle room.
Yeah. This was, here's the music. Let's practice it 1,000 times and make sure that it's exactly what is on the page, and that's fine. I mean, that's that type of thing. It wasn't my gig. I came there to play drums and to be better at it and be better as a musician. But all of that other stuff, I feel kind of like bogged me down. But it's at the same time, I grew as a musician and as being more professional in the industry because of things like that. You had to learn how to really manage time and prioritize. And my goal was to get the gig every single time and be the one that was called for everything.
That's how you do it, baby. That's how you do it.
So I didn't say no to anything, and I was always the first one on everybody's list, and that was the goal. So there was a lot of pros to it. I mean, what are some of the pros for you for music school?
I think the biggest thing was connections.
Yes.
And networking. I met so many musicians and players and people who could help with whatever my goals were. Like, that's a huge, huge, huge thing. Because we were all kind of in the same boat and with stuff like that. And a lot of those people who I got connections with, they were frustrated like I was, in class. Like, I remember the one gentleman in my class who was in a band with us for a very long time. We were in the same kind of like recording classes, and the professor, who was a younger dude, he was always, being like, oh yeah, you need to put this part here and that part here and this part. And I was like, yeah, but if we're doing that, then I'm literally just playing and doing the same thing as the guy next to me. And what is the purpose of that? Like, I understand how to do it, and I get you want us to see if we can check all those boxes, but in a medium like that, it's like, dude, give us some wiggle room. And that was terrible. But everyone kind of got that. So I would say, yeah, for me, the most important thing was the connections. Because, and again, not to try to sound pompous, but I took music very, very seriously in, middle school, high school, whatever. So I was always just doing theory study for myself and learning as much as I could just because I wanted to be the best at what I did, or at least the best version of myself. And so when I got to college, a large majority of the stuff that I had done in class, I already knew, whether it was the recording interfaces or the theory stuff or things like that. And again, I'm not trying to sound full of myself, but it was just, I was comfortable with my skill set and I knew that I could do it. So that was, important that I had to do it for me as a musician. So I kind of got there and I was like, well, this is just kind of a waste for me.
Yeah.
So that, I'm paying money for this and I can't test out of stuff. And everyone was in the same boat as me. So it was, I can't even really say like a lot of the skills that I picked up there was the best thing about the music school. It was just, I think it was the connections and the networking because, like, it's everyone there, like I said, in the same boat as you. And it's like, well, if you can kind of pick up these people and work with them and kind of make relationships and connections out of it, that's the most important thing for me personally. And we've played with a ton of people who I've known that I've met through music school, and I that's my greatest takeaway personally.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I still talk to a lot of the people that I went to school with, and we've still done things even after everybody's graduated, and we still reach out and, hey, I got a gig, looking for a drummer or whatever. It's the connections are huge in school, and some of these schools have huge budgets. I mean, and you can get some really cool experiences. That's kind of how I learned a lot about recording. We had all the equipment there, top of the line stuff. They were able to bring in, some of the best, players in the world to do master classes, and
oh yeah, that's great.
And I got to travel Europe for a little bit, and those are some of the good opportunities you can get from school because they have the infrastructure and the financial backing. And I think that's crucial. And like you said, the connections are huge. But I mean, let's talk about another thing. I mean, we have You know, at least for me, when I was looking to go to school, we have anything from, you know, a state-run school that has a decent music program, or, you know, the Berkeleys and the, you know, the art schools, and that come with, you know, a six-figure price tag on them.
Yes, they do. Oh boy.
And I mean, what do you think about those? I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about them, and they're not, at least in my opinion, they're not like they used to be. But
boy, I was straight community college because, first off, I didn't want to go away to school. I had no interest in going somewhere. I didn't want to room with anyone. I must sound like such like a hermit or such like a grumpy old guy, but it's like
real.
I didn't want
I don't want friends.
I didn't want. No, my life is a dark room. No, I didn't want to room with anyone. I didn't want to share a dorm with anybody. I didn't want to go away. I'm not a party dude. I didn't want that experience. Whoa. I just didn't want to be around people like that. It's like, I'm here for classes and goodbye. Whoa. And so, like, you know, I was straight community college, and the best part is I am not a bitch to the system because I don't have any student loans, which is super
unheard of.
I mean, I think the most expensive thing that I had to pay for was books, and then I even stopped paying for books because most of the professors had like either a revision in the book and they got a kickback whenever people bought it. So we would buy the books, right, and they're all in their cellophane wrap, and the professor would be like, all right, take the plastic off. We just want to make sure we have the right edition here. Okay, good. And we would like never use the book. So he just got it because he had a kickback in it or whatever.
Yep.
And you'd try to return it, and the bookstore would be like, oh, we're not taking returns because we already have a new edition. And I'm like, I bought this yesterday. So I stopped just buying books, and I would either use Google Books or find it online or just bullshit my way completely through because it was unnecessary. But, I mean, community college at least was cheap, no student loans. Because I know you probably had people like this too. I had I can't really say friend, an acquaintance who I had known, and he was going to Berkeley for fucking performance. He was going to Berkeley, and it was at the time, I believe it was $56,000 a year.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay. And he never even finished. He had a couple months left to go, and he left because he got picked up by a gentleman who was gigging in the UK, and I think he still plays with them. So it's you went and wasted all that money and even get your piece of paper at the end. You know?
Yeah, not that it would matter. The piece of paper with a degree like that's going to get you nothing.
Well, I was going to say, that's like, I can show you on a closed fist with no fingers up how many times I've used my degree. You know, whether it's for any teaching opportunities I've had, whether it's for any recording opportunities. You walk in and, you know, they're always like, yeah, well, tell me about yourself. And I first go to school because I think that's what they want to hear. I'll go right to the school topic. Like, no. Tell me about what you play, who you're into, what your influences, you know, what kind of styles you do. And I'm like, oh, so they don't even give a shit about the school thing. And you know what? Neither do I, because my whole thing was whenever you and I were trying out musicians for anything, we'd have someone come in, they drop the big old bomb where it's, well, I'm a music major. And it's like, that's great. Can you play this? Like,
yeah, that's all we care about.
You know? It was the big talk kind of thing, and it's like, that's great if, you know, you can, because we'd have a guy come in, oh, I really like, you know, let me just do a quick chord analysis on the chromaticism in this is really great, going from the 4 all the way up to the 6 and this and that, and I'm just like, dude, I don't care, can you just play it? And then they couldn't play it, and that was always the funniest part, because it's like, dude, it's with any of the arts, this is how people, I was like, if you want to know everyone listen, the big secret to the arts, it's your final product is what matters most. It's not how you got there. It's not your degree. It's not who you were taught by or what you were taught by. I mean, yeah, those things are impressive on paper and it's great, but it's ultimately your final product. I can be like, yes, I was taught by Bob Ross how to paint. And, you know, oh, wow, that's amazing. Paint me something. And then it's just stick figures. You know,
hey,
but it's like,
that's
oh, yeah,
how
Bob
I
Ross
draw.
I was gonna say, well, you didn't get taught by Bob Ross. You should see my stick figures. They're beautiful stick figures. But it's one of those things like that where it's like, yeah, you were taught by him, but does that mean anything?
Yeah,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It's just, can you play, and you know, are you a good person? You know, that's really what most people look for.
I like that. I like the latter. That's a good one,
you
man.
Know, it's not. But like, it's you don't go, you know, to these auditions and you hand over a resume and they look through it. You know, that doesn't happen. This isn't like a ZipRecruiter. You know, you can't submit a resume. Shout out to ZipRecruiter. You know, we just got paid a because I just said that.
Yeah,
you know,
I was gonna say.
but I mean, it's harsh truth, you know, to it. But I mean, that's how it is. And you know, you have a degree in music, not even music ed. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
You know, you have a music degree and you now have 6 figures in debt. And guess what? You're going to have to pay that off really soon after you graduate. And you have no job, you know, unless you're really, really fortunate and lucky to get, you know, hooked up with somebody. But I mean, that's kind of why I auditioned in an art school, and, you know, it probably was amazing. Would have been awesome, but I looked at the financial side of it, and I couldn't justify it. I really liked, you know, I took lessons from one of the professors there, you know, during high school, and I really, really loved the guy. But even then, it was just, you know, with a nice scholarship and whatever. So I could not justify that.
Yeah, it's insane.
It is crazy, and I think that it used to be a lot harder to get into. You know, I felt like back in the day, if you graduated from, you know, Berkeley or, you know, the Indiana School of Music out there.
Yeah, you really earned it.
Like, you pretty much got a great gig right out of the gate, because it was really hard to get into, you know, crazy program, and you were one of the best players and you got hired. Now,
well, they would turn you down even if you had the money up front. They would sometimes still turn you down. Now it's just a money game.
They just want your money. And I mean, you and I both know people that are, I hate to say it, but like, they're not good people and they're not great players. They got accepted.
No, you said it. I didn't, William.
Yeah, they got accepted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you serious? You know, that's just, the standard's not there anymore because they just want you to pay the $60,000 a year.
Yeah. That's what it is. I mean, and now just to clarify, I'm not shitting on anyone who, you know, goes to music school or has graduated music school or paid money like that. Like, that's fabulous because a lot of people don't make it that far, and that's obviously great. And I wish anyone who done that does have a good, solid job and they're, you know, confident and comfortable with what they do. I'm just more so saying, and I kind of what Armando was asking, is it necessary? You know, like I had the dude who was the bane of my existence because he was, like, me being a guitarist, he was the guy that made me start to hate guitarists because he was so goddamn cocky and full of himself. We called him the Brofessor. He looked like Marty McFly. He had the vest. He had the hair. He was a douchebag and a half, as they say in the feminine hygiene business.
Yeah, gotta have that extra half.
Yes, of course. He was horrible. He was like 27 at, you know, he was a young dude, like adjunct professor, whatever. And he would always, like, I would always just skateboard from my car to the class because it was far, and he would always want to take my skateboard and always have words with me. He always wanted to compete with me and stuff. Like, he was like, he'd be like, dude, let me borrow your skateboard. I'd be like, no, man. He'd be like, dude, why not, man? Come on, fuck you, man. And he was like one of those kind of guys. And I'm like, this guy. And I had words with him multiple times, and everyone in the class would always try to egg me on to say stuff to him or egg him on to say stuff to me. So we'd kind of have like a little tussle because he was such a shit. He assigned in the last 3 weeks of class, it was never on the syllabus, this giant like 30-page paper of analyzing like an album of some sort. So I actually just found my copy of this. I don't know if I showed you or told you about it, but I was cleaning and I found my copy of it. I did, okay, because it was the first 2 pages were real written research paper, and then everything else was just kind of a big FU that I wrote to him, and I just wrote absolute nonsense. And I knew he wasn't going to read it. He was just doing it out of spite, and we didn't know why he assigned this. We had no clue. And the bibliography page on the end, that was also real. So to make it look like it was a nice sandwich, and I passed his class, and it was like, whatever. But yeah, I flat out turned it into him, and he was such a shit, and we were always like, why did he assign this and it wasn't on the syllabus and this and that? And then we found out why, because he had the world fucking dropped on him. And it was fabulous, because he was also kind of a shitty person, and he kind of deserved it. But this professor was so full of himself. He was like, guitar dude, And he had the pretty blonde girlfriend he would always bring in and show off and be like, yeah, you wish your girlfriend looked like my girlfriend. He would do that kind of stuff and, you know, all that. He was a shit eater. He had a double master's degree. He had a master's for music theory and a master's for music engineering.
Whoa.
You know, and we asked him, we were like, yeah. So we asked him, we're like, dude, why would you, you know, why, the fuck you assigning us this thing? What is this for? And it was out of spite because he was angry. So apparently, at this time, this was maybe 2012ish, NBC or ABC or one of the channels was putting out a casting call for someone to score a film, a made-for-TV movie or a show or something like that. And he went and applied. And he goes in and he throws down these 2 big dick master's degrees, slaps them on the table real hard. You know, that was the degrees being slapped. That was the sound. Yeah. We're getting into the old school radio show now. We're going to do all the sound effects.
Yeah, we need the soundboard.
So he slaps that big limp degree down on the table. You know, and he got to the final round because they went through like a whole tree of kind of putting people together, seeing, you know, who was the best. And he got down to he and one other guy, and the other guy got the gig. And it turns out that other guy was a little older than him and never finished high school.
Boom.
He had a better final product. And my professor was so distraught and so pissed about it. And I asked him, like, dude, why would you assign this big paper? And he's like, and he literally said in the front of the class in an angry, just traumatized voice, he goes, because none of this fucking matters. He goes, none of this matters. He goes, you don't have to be here for a degree. You don't have to be here for anything. And I was already starting to get in that mindset, you know, because it was getting towards the end of school. And I was like, you know, this isn't doing anything for me. Nothing is going to result from this. I've never used my degree for anything. I really have never, ever used it as anything for any job or any gig. And just the fact that this guy was really kind of setting it in stone that it was, yeah, you don't need any of this. Because look at all that work he did.
Yeah.
You know, double masters for engineering and theory, those are very difficult to get.
Theory is a nightmare.
And he, you know, master's degrees in those, and he was a double master, and it's like, it didn't even matter at that point. Because it's like, this dude, he was probably, you know, thinking, he's like, I didn't have to do any of this. You could have just stayed and worked on your craft and worked on you, which in hindsight is more so what I wish I did.
Same.
Instead of spending all of that time and energy and money on just, you know, a lot of nonsense that really didn't help further my goals. You know, and I as much of a butthole as this guy was, I felt for him. You know, I really did feel for him. I mean, he was a shitty, you know, earthworm of a human being, but other than that, you know, that kind of grounded him a little bit. It really knocked him down a couple pegs, and I think he needed it. It was humbling for him. But like, man, it was the truth. It was, and we asked a couple other professors, and they all said, you know, most people they knew who were successful, or they themselves, no, they didn't use any degree kind of stuff. It's just, it was the final product. It's always like that in art. I mean, look at any of the greats. Like, you and I love Tarantino. Like, that's one of our favorite dudes. And he was in film school for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's
you know,
great
And,
story.
yeah, because people were like, oh, you can't have this much dialogue. You can't have, you know, you can't have stuff out of order in movies. No one's going to like this. And he was like, see ya. And I think he did pretty well for himself.
I think he did
for how
all right.
huge. He's doing fine. He's an up-and-coming lad. I wish him the best. For God's sakes, the guy has, 9 films? Everyone thinks he's this, you know, super quantity filmmaker, but he's the quality filmmaker. He has 9 films since 1990. That's insane.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
No, but it's always quality over quantity.
Yeah.
You know, and he was the guy, and I loved his quote. It was, don't go to film school, go to films. And
Mic drop.
If I could get a tattoo on my face like Post Malone, you know, that's the one I would get. It would be that one.
On your forehead?
And then just not do my hair and not shave and do mumbly whatever, but that's for another episode. Yeah, probably my forehead.
Yeah. That's the way to go.
Or like under my eye. I don't know. People like him though, so maybe I should do a couple. But like, dude, that quote is something, because that's how it always is with me. Now, it's like, granted, instruction's not a bad thing. Music school's not a bad thing. If that's what you're into, that is that is fabulous. Like, I would never knock people who go through that kind of thing and get that degree, and that's great, because I only went to a certain point, and when I got a degree, I was like, I'm not doing any more of this. This did nothing for me. This didn't further my goals. This just didn't really enrich my life. And I loved my professors. I keep in contact with a lot of them. But the idea of, do you need it to succeed in the music industry? Honestly, personally, me, on this side of the tablet, no, I don't believe you need to. I mean, Will, where are you on this kind of degree, no degree
How dare
spectrum?
you say that?
Dude, it's a touchy subject, man, because people will come at you and take a big dump all over you for this kind of thing, and they're like, you have to go to school, and you have to go to music school, and if you don't have a degree, you ain't shit, and you're ugly, and you need face tattoos for people to like you, and they get very specific.
You're right.
It's very strange,
You're right.
honestly. I know.
Yeah.
I know, man.
I mean, for me, I'm afraid to answer now. I'm gonna have to agree with you.
Yay!
I'm only saying that because you're my boss, and I need a raise, and times are tough here. Tired of dry cereal. So, no.
I just had a bowl of dry Cheerios before we started doing this podcast today.
Oh, that's what I smell.
Yeah. Dude, dry cereal I have all the time for a snack, just usually not at breakfast. It's just any other time of the day.
Yes.
It's great. Anyway, not important.
No, very important. All that fiber and lower cholesterol.
Oh, good.
By the way, this
happy hearts.
episode is brought to you by Cheerios.
Thanks, guys.
Get yours today. I think that's everybody's slogan.
I was gonna say, yeah, get yours today. The future today is now.
It is now.
I don't know.
But yeah,
thank God we don't have to do that.
I know. I have to agree with you on that one. I mean, and I'm all about, educating yourself and learning as much as possible. But that can come in a lot of different elements. There's so much material online, it's unreal. And with technology the way it is, it's incredible what's available to you.
Oh my God! I mean, the internet alone, you can find every piece of information you need, and that's what kind of and that's what kind of lit a fire under my ass, where I was like, I can just better myself and listen to as much as I can and learn as much as I can and apply these skills to me as a player and a writer and a musician and an arranger and what have you, and that's why I do everything myself. Yeah. Because I didn't want to rely on other people who were always like, well, I have this degree in this thing. And then you pay them and they do a product for you, or they do a skill for you, or a job. And it's not that great. It's not up to snuff, but they believe this degree puts them in that big league kind of category. That's why I do everything myself, because I was tired of, the degree preceding the craft. So my whole thing at this point was, I'm going to do as much as I possibly can, because if I'm ever in a situation where I'm competing with other people for a spot or an opportunity for a gig or what have you, that, wow, I was able to go further than these people, and I have a quarter of the schooling that they did. And it's just really a statement at that point, because it's like, well, it's always the final product. It's the craft. It's the person doing it, not the degree that precedes it. That's how I've been for a very, very long time. So when people come in and they're like, well, I have this music degree and I'm real great. And it's like, that's cool. Play me something. And that's all I need to see. Now, granted, there are people who have music degrees I know who are fabulous, just monster players, which is great. But for them, the craft and the art and the musicianship precedes the degree. There's a big difference in that.
Huge.
Where it's, you think the degree is a big suit of armor for you, and that's not what it is. It's always the other way around like that. It's like, that would be like saying, dude, I have this beautiful guitar, but oh my God, the case that it's in, oh my God, it's so much better. And it's like, what? That's dumb.
Yeah.
Get out of my house. Who are you people?
Yeah. Can you play the thing? I mean, that's how I've always felt. That's all we care about. Can you play it and be a good human being? That's really,
I like
It's
you
not-
tack that on. I like the good human being part. That is great because I do feel like a lot of degree stuff goes to people's heads and makes them very, very conceited. And you already know how I feel about that.
Yeah, we talk about it
So.
all the time on the show. Is about being a good person, and we just recently talked about ego, and I mean it's all about the hang, which we talked about before. I mean, that's really
Most definitely.
that's really, and any pro guy is gonna tell you that it's about the hang. It's can you play and show up on time? It's like the little things. That's really what people care about.
Yeah, I mean, because I'd imagine you're going in for an audition for a gig, and obviously if the audition is looking for, a lot of schooling stuff like that, where they want to see the degrees and they want to see this and they want to see that, I understand that completely. A lot of conservatories, that's all they want to see. They want to see that kind of thing. But at the same time, a lot of conservatories are just kind of churning out a cookie cutter at that point, which is kind of a shame. And then a lot of people going to those schools just, I don't want to say brainwashed, but they get very shaped by those kind of institutions, and they all think they're up to the same quality standard. It's like, but now there's just no individuality. And that is always kind of sad to me, because that's what I like so much about music and art and film and anything like that in that category. It's individuality. It's expression. That's the best thing. It's not you're trying to all be the same. That's sports, William. I'm sorry. But, that's kind of the point. It's to do your own thing. And I don't know. I just always thought that was very, very important to me. So if I was a person ever looking for someone to apply for a gig, recording session, what have you, I'd want to see what they bring to the table. That's the most important thing. It's like, and then they're a good person on top of it, and they're polite, and they're a good player, and they can do what you need, but they put a touch of them in it, or anything like that. I think that precedes any schooling degree. I would never, ever cast that out. Because when you and I always audition musicians and band members and things, or whatever project we're working on, we're always saying, would you go to music school or anything like that? And sometimes I say yeah, sometimes I say no. And regardless, that doesn't matter to me. It's
No.
Can you play? Can you do it? I don't know. What do you have? What's a final thought that closes little bitty out? What you got for
final
me? William?
thought? Well, it's never go to school, stay home.
Perfect. What have we learned today, kids?
I mean, well, what we learned is do you, baby. I mean,
I like that. I like that.
I know plenty of people that have done the music school route fully and are super successful and happy about it. I think it really depends on the individual, and it's and your situation at the time. It's like if there's a school that you like, and there's a professor there that you're a fan of, or you're taking lessons from them, and you're financially set, and you got a plan worked out, absolutely go do it. You're gonna learn a ton. You're gonna get to play a lot, like I talked about, and all the different cool experiences. And I think I can speak for both of us. We never want to deter anybody from that. That's education
I agree
is
completely.
key.
Yep.
And go learn as much as you can. And like you mentioned, the connections are everything. And there's a ton at the college level. So absolutely go do that. And on the other side of it, there's people that it doesn't work for. And you and I, are in that category, and we realize that. But we still took away some positives. But
of course,
yeah,
of course.
But we chose a different avenue and wanted to try and do it on our own, and and it's art. There's no right or wrong. It's not. I can't say that it's right to go to school, and I can't say that it's right to not go to the school. It's whatever you're feeling and whatever works for you. It's just all I have to say is just never stop educating yourself, and that doesn't mean you have to go to school for it. You can go there. It's all about online these days, and there's plenty of different avenues and outlets to learn. And if music school is one of those things for you, then for sure go do it. But to answer the question, is it needed? In my opinion, I don't think so. I think it really just matters if, can you play? Can you play, and, are you a good human being? That's really all that matters. In our experiences, that's really all that it comes down to.
I like that. You know what I didn't do this entire episode, but I think really deserves it for that little final closing statement?
Oh, no.
Oh, boy. Here it is. You get a little bell
Check,
there, buddy.
please.
I think that was nice. So I think we would wrap this thing up perfectly. I think that was beautiful, Will. Armando, hopefully we kind of gave you not so much an answer, but more of a perspective, a different kind of look into this thing. But anyway, guys, this has been the Drop the Beat podcast. If you would like to support us and become a patron on Patreon, check out charleslorita.com. We have the big orange Patreon button there. You can become one of our little Patreon kind of dudes for $1 a month, which I would think is fun and way super cheap. If you would love to submit a question for us to answer on here, we would love it too. So you can go to charleslorita.com/contact and leave us a question to answer in a long format kind of style like this. I thought this was a good one, man. This was super touchy, but I think we kind of got where we kept it fair, which is nice. But in closing, my name is Charles Laurita.
And my name is Will Sarver.
It is Will Sarver. It really
Today
truly
it
is. Good. And guys, we will see you next time.
Later.
See ya.